Welcome to the Rick Ramos Podcast, Chicago.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Last thing I want to do, I do want to touch on like the Chicago boxing amateur scene. Like, what do you think that we can add as a city or a state, however you want to look at it? The Illinois scene, the Chicago scene. What could we add, to make it better, to prepare these young guys or girls, for the professional level?
I actually think about this a lot. If I wasn't fighting, I would definitely be running some kind of Instagram page for promotion for amateur fighters and things like that. On the West Coast, even sometimes on the East Coast, you definitely see that.
Yeah.
A lot of boxing media at amateur tournaments.
Right.
And then, I won the Golden Gloves. I was the best fighter of the entire tournament in 2014, and it's just like one interview.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a problem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And another thing too, and correct me or give your opinion if you want. As far as like, I think like everybody in Chicago, I feel in Illinois, I feel like everybody wants to be like the man instead of like they don't feel like they want to interview you because they feel like that's beneath what they think where they think they should be. But a lot of people don't understand. Like, you got to do the shitty interviews, you got to do the paper routes, and you got to do all that shit to be at your level or Jessica's level or whoever's level.
Not only that, it's just a lot of politics. I mean, even as a pro fighter, I had a fight in Chicago, and I saw, I reached out to a photographer to send me a picture so I can post on my Instagram. And, he sent me it with like this huge watermark of the promoter's thing. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever.
Right.
So I asked him, I was like, do you mind if when I put the photo up, I can remove the watermark? And he was like, absolutely not. The promoter would be very upset. Just things like that.
Yeah.
It's like, I understand everyone wants their, promotion, but to star of the show is the fighter.
Absolutely. And
I mean, look at like 70,000 people didn't fill Cowboy Stadium for Eddie Hearn.
That's crazy, right?
They filled it for Canelo.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, 100%,
for sure.
No doubt about it. And that's to touch on that topic. We had a couple people, and I won't spit names, but like photographers from Chicago. One of them got a look on the Ring magazine, and another one, I can't remember exactly, but like they saw me post their pictures so much on my social media. It wasn't, anything else, but they were watermarked on there, fine, whatever. And one of them was suggested that I owe him money, and the other girl was like, hey, you need to tell me, like, you need to call them and tell Ring magazine, like, I credited you on my social media, like, that's whoever takes it. Whoever took it from Ring magazine, put it up. They need to publish it. I'm not going to go chase people. I'm not going to burn my bridge because of a picture. You need to reach out, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's credited. It's clearly on my Instagram or whatever it was. So, in my opinion, like, people who bring problems to the table, like on something, in my opinion, small like that, we delete them. I don't use that guy or that girl ever again. Yeah. And that was before Jessica won any belts. You think you won the small belt.
Yeah.
The one that doesn't matter anymore. The small sanctioning body.
Shots fired.
Oh, goodness.
No, but that person, we gave them a shot. They didn't give us a shot.
Right.
We gave them a shot. He couldn't get on the sanctioning body. He couldn't get on any fighters in Chicago. And I said, we'll do it. I don't care. We did it. And then he was like trying to like, we need this, we need that. And then I got him. We used the same sanctioning body in Tijuana, and we won another belt, and we were promoting him. And other fighters fought for those belts in Chicago. He got a little promotion out of it, and whatever. So once he started putting restrictions on me, he got cut out. So like, I don't play the restriction game. There's no one above me. You know what I'm saying? So I don't answer to anybody. If I roll with you, I roll with you. If I don't, we don't, and that's it. I'm not trying to make enemies or anything, but this isn't Chicago fucking business as usual like in the 80s and 90s in Chicago boxing. There's a new era. There's a new sheriff in town, and I want to do business. It's true. It's very, very true. I want to do big things, and I feel like no one's going to stop. I don't give a fuck who it is, and these old timers, very much like regular boxing, there's old timers in Chicago. They need to step aside and let the new kings come through.
There's that, and then there's also the people who are brand new to the game that just need to understand how business goes. You know, there was a photographer at some point that I'm sure they put their stuff out on social media, and you know, people think that we give the Ring magazine or whoever photos. We don't have your photos. We have our own photographer.
Right.
So I'm sure they Googled it. I'm sure they found it. I'm sure you had it out there and they probably just took it. And so that's your own fault. You know, it's just like you have to understand that you got to keep a lock and key onto your stuff, or be happy that you got, you know, notarized in, you know, a magazine as prestigious as the Ring. Everybody reads the Ring. You know what I mean? It's like, that's your freebie. Cut it out, put a frame around it, and keep going.
Yeah, right. And I also think, like, you know, we just got to step aside. Like, Chicago boxing has this ego, like, I don't really understand. Like, I feel like, you know, there's only a few handful of world champions in Chicago, and obviously anyone who gets in the ring deserves that respect. But I'm saying, like, those former world champions from Chicago need to speak up on it too, and help out the guys behind them. Because, you know, sometimes, you know, I see a lot of people on the internet just saying, congratulations, you know, good luck, best wishes, happy birthday. But they're like robots. Just like, speak up. Like, it drives me fucking insane. You know, it drives me crazy because I ain't that guy. If I don't tell you congratulations after you win, it's because I don't like you. That's it. I see everything on the fucking internet. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And if those other guys want to be, hey, listen, you should like a guy who's honest instead of liking a guy who's fake. That's all I'm going to say. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention how that is a very good point too, because like, there are, like, Chicago does have some male world champions, right?
Yeah,
that are now
former world champions.
Yeah. And you don't really see them as much or hear from them as much as we'd like to.
Yeah.
Like, those guys are like idols to some kids.
Yeah.
They're, you know, amateur fighters look up to some of these guys. Like, you guys you live the life that we dream of living. You have a world title.
Yeah.
You know, wherever you keep it at in your house. And I believe that they should show their face more. They should have a stronger voice in Chicago. It would be very beneficial to a lot of the young kids growing up.
I guess I will defend them on this part of it. I think a lot of those guys were in an era where they were bullied and they were not with the best people. They were with the only people. Remember, I want you guys to hear that again. They were not with the best people. They were with the only people, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, this guy's the best trainer in Chicago for the last 30 years. No, motherfucker. He was one of 3 trainers in Chicago for fucking 30 years. I ain't afraid to say that no more because it's fucking irritating, because everybody wants to, like, Rick, you should say this about this person, but they never want to come on the show and talk about it. So this guy wasn't the best cut guy. He was the only cut guy. You know what I'm saying? This guy wasn't the only cut guy. He wasn't the best cut guy. He was the only cut guy. This guy wasn't the best boxing coach in Chicago. He was the only boxing coach in Chicago. And I think people have to use common logic to figure those things out and stop crowning people that were really, in my opinion, were not the best people for your careers. That's how I feel.
I do feel too, maybe they're just those retired ex-world champions. They're probably just burnt out too, because like you said about the politics and they're only being one promoter, 2 promoters. I had a conversation with my dad. I was like, there was fights every month when he was a pro.
Yeah.
I was like, that's why he turned pro at 29 and was able to fight so much, so often, and move up the ranks pretty quickly because of that.
Right.
Whereas now, my advice to amateurs is like, try to get some national titles under your belt.
Absolutely.
And some recognition before you turn pro. Because if you don't and you go pro, if there's not someone investing in you and pushing your career, you're going to move very slow.
Yeah.
And you are going to have a lot of these layoffs. Mm-hmm. And me, I'm a realist. I didn't have the most prestigious amateur career. And I'm okay saying that because that's why I work so hard.
Right.
That's why I take these tough fights, because I don't care what anyone else thinks of me. Yeah. I have something to prove to myself.
Absolutely.
And I fight because it makes me a better man, and it pushes me to be a better athlete, and I'm obsessed with becoming better. But what I do tell these young amateurs is just that. Like, are you sure you want to turn pro? Are you sure this is the right time? Yeah. I'm not one of them dudes in the gym when an amateur comes up to me and says, I'm going to turn pro. I'm not just like, oh, good for you. No, I have a conversation with them.
Absolutely.
Like, are you sure you want to do that? What is your plan?
How do you think that is like perceived, or how do you think like that interaction goes?
The way I hope it's perceived is that they could tell I care about them.
Right.
But
what do you think they really think?
Some of them are probably, you could tell some of them might think, oh, look at this dude, he don't want me to turn pro.
Right.
You know, or he
thinks he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah,
yeah.
But
right.
I just care because once you turn pro, you can't go back and fight amateurs.
Yeah.
I definitely think,
you
there's
get shelved.
There has to be like 1 out of 3, 1 out of 5 that think to themselves like, man, this is the only person who's ever asked me those questions. This is the only person that seems like they care. So, yeah. I mean, definitely keep, reaching out and having those conversations, and because there might not be anybody else in their camp, on their team, that is even, thinking about that kind of stuff.
Boxing is not, like you said, it's a team sport, but it's dependent on you and who you surround yourself with.
Absolutely.
A lot of the times, it's very team oriented in the amateurs because you're traveling with people and you're with a bunch of coaches. Once you turn pro, fighters run into issues where their coach doesn't want to train pro fighters. Their coach doesn't know any promoters, any managers.
And it's so weird that you say that. And first of all, I agree 5,000%. Like, I see some of the great Illinois amateur boxing coaches, they've never had a pro. Or they can't hold a pro, or they can't get a big deal with the promoter, and things like that. And I wonder, like, man, and I've said this publicly, where I'm like, yo, you're a better coach than me. You're a better coach than me. You're a better coach than me. And I think to myself, how the fuck can't you get a pro? You have amateurs with over 100 fights. You've never had one pro. And this isn't a knock. This is a fucking serious question, because a lot of the questions I bring up are tough questions that nobody wants to answer. And I'm always a dick, and Rick needs to get beat up. And Rick, fucking listen, man. Listen what I'm telling you. Like, if you have pro fighters for 15 years, if you had amateur fighters for 15 years, and your amateurs are amateurs for 10, 12, 13, 14 years, listen, that's like saying, I work at Chuck E. Cheese. It doesn't matter. Any job, actually. If you work at any job, you make $8 a fucking hour for 12, 13, 14, 15 years, you suck. Like, you're not improving. So, and I'm not saying those coaches suck. What I'm saying is, like, you have to step up your game. It's not just about making the Olympics. Some coaches just want to make the Olympic team. That's cool. But tell the kid that, because the kid eventually is going to need you to turn pro. And when you hand him off to fucking, Johnny B. Nuts, like, that guy doesn't know what the fuck. He's trying to get a paycheck out of a kid that you put 12, 15 years into. And next thing you know, that kid fucking runs off, has 17 kids. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't feel comfortable with you. He doesn't feel comfortable with the next person. You ditched him. Now this other guy's trying to milk him. Oh, you know what? You got to pay gym dues. You know what? You got to fucking do this. You got to do that. Have I ever charged you gym dues?
Nope. But
that's crazy.
Everything you're saying right now, dude, is the story of so many fighters.
Yeah, it's like, how many times can you run into a fucking brick wall till you just say, you know what? I'm done running into a fucking brick wall. Like, this is everyone's fucking story, and it drives me insane. I'm not fucking smart. I'm not the best trainer. How the fuck am I figuring this out? That I don't understand. If you look. And this is a shot at myself, right? If you look at every fighter that I've ever trained, sorry, Jessica, I've never had the most talented fighters. Like, we've always had to work. Like, I had Frankie Scalise, right? He wasn't the most talented. I had Jimmy Sandoval, who wasn't the most talented. I had Jose Felix Cosada, who I didn't really train, but I definitely worked with him on the manager side, right? And if you look at those people, they didn't have the best talent in Chicago. I can name 50 fucking guys who were better than all of them. In the amateurs, right? But Frankie Scalise was the biggest fucking ticket seller. He was selling 600 tickets. He was making $20,000 for a fucking 4-rounder. Ain't nobody in fucking Chicago other than Fly Hernandez and maybe Johnny Lewis were making that kind of cash. I promise you that. That was him. Jimmy Sandoval was selling 250 amateur tickets, 250 tickets per fight, won a state title. We did the best things that we could do for Jimmy. Frankie was the biggest ticket seller. Jose Quezada was the biggest thing. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Jose Quezada was the biggest name in Chicago till he was 8-0. And then the Eddie Ramirez's came in. Then the Alex Martins. And then the Samaje Thomases. You know, Jose Felix Quezada was arguably the biggest name in Chicago when Al-Haim was doing business here. I don't think that's even an argument. Other than Samaje Thomas, nobody was bigger. I feel. And that had a lot to do with the way I promoted Jose. And I feel like, you know, once you start mixing and matching with people, then, you know, you don't get the same results. Yeah. So if something's working for you guys, stick with it, stay with it, and let's slide off the typical and the norm of Chicago boxing, and we need to move forward, all of us.
It really is about your game plan.
Absolutely.
You know, it drives me insane how some young fighters think that, oh, I'm going to turn pro and make so much money. It is definitely a chess game. You know what I'm saying? It's not checkers. It's a chess game.
It's not Monopoly, like that one guy said. It's fucking chess.
You got to have the endurance, the mental strength to deal with everything.
100%.
And even if you do have people on your side that are helping you and monitoring your career to move in the right way, it's still going to be taxing in one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and again, you might have your Uncle Billy. Uncle Billy might be like working with you. You might have your dad. You might have your uncle. You might have your cousin. You might have Charlie. You might have the guy next door, your dad's best friend, whoever training you. And they might be the best trainer for you. But that doesn't mean they're the best manager for you. That doesn't mean they're going to put up $5,000 so you can go fight a guy who's 1-12 and barely win. That doesn't mean that. You know, if you got a guy who's putting up money, you got a guy with a game plan, and don't be afraid to say, hey, coach, hey, manager guy, what is your plan? Like with me, what is your plan with me? I want to progress. I want to do bigger things. What is your plan? If he tells you some goofy story, if he tells you don't know, fucking run and don't look back. That's it. Right? That's it. You know, I think, you know, and I think that, you know, I looked up to a lot of people for a long time. I shouldn't say I looked up to them. I respected a lot of people for a long time, and I felt like once I opened up my gym, I felt like I was able to do what I wanted to do. And then I got held back, you know, by partners or by people who didn't think as big as me. Then when I opened up my own gym completely on my own, like my career as a coach and manager skyrocketed. Wasn't even combined. Like if you go back and look at everybody I work with, Jimmy Sandoval is a successful cut guy. Trinidad Garcia opened up a boxing gym. Like everybody I work with, Frankie Scalise opened up a boxing gym. All those guys came through me, and I'm not taking credit for their success. What I'm saying is that like maybe I opened up their eyes to bigger things. Mm-hmm. Maybe I reminded them that they could do bigger things. Maybe not. I don't know. That's for those guys to speak on it. Maybe I did it to you, maybe not. You can speak on it now if you want, but I feel like I've always thought big. Yeah. And I don't ever want to stop thinking big.
I think you were the first person to ever have a conversation with me about going pro. Like, you're like, yeah, you know, your career's going to go really fast. We're going to just kind of like bang this stuff out, and then you're going to go pro. And I was like, oh, okay. And, you know, just like my eyes were wide open to a lot of different things, and, you know, just having to work harder and really show up. And, you know, I was really looking for someone to kind of lead the way as far as like the other fighters. And then there weren't any other fighters. Like I was, you know, next in line, and we just had to take the charge together. So from then on, I was just always thinking that you were going to come up with some crazy wild idea, and I was down for the ride. You know, it's just like, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we did. And I feel like, you know, a lot of people don't know the backdrop story on Cecilia Breakhouse, but Cecilia asked Jessica to spar, 3 years ago? And I was like, no, we're going to pass. And you were kind of like, oh, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I think we're going to fight her. Why would she ask us for sparring? We're going to pass. And it was a Chicago guy who tried to trap us in that situation and get us beat, but it didn't work. Shout out to that guy. You know what I'm saying? That's just the hate that Chicago builds. And I told that guy, I said, to his face, I was like, yo, we're going to beat Cecilia Breakhouse. It's over with, and everybody laughed at me. No one thought I could get the Katie fight. No one thought we could beat Cecilia Breakhouse. We got the Katie fight. We beat Cecilia twice, and you know. Oh, by the way, for the people who don't know, shout out to Abel Sanchez. I didn't mean to get you fired, but Cecilia Breakhouse just fired him. So
yeah, she fired everybody, right?
Yeah, I mean, I did. Yeah, she fired Tom Laughlin. My bad. Told you, Tom. I told you. Tom Laughlin. Shout out to Tom Laughlin. Tom, listen to me. Just as this, you and I are talking now. You should have signed Summer. I fucking gave you an opportunity to sign Sean Simpson, and you should have signed Summer. I'm telling you. You can still call me. We'll talk. But I think you should have signed both of them. And, you know, your publicist is fired, too, because he's terrible. He's a Chicago guy. Your publicist is terrible. He did a horrible job, by the way, on promoting the fight that I promoted, that I got, that I made the deal on. So, yeah, shout out to your whole squad, Cecilia. Cheers. White Claw in the house. All right, last thing. Josh, is there anything you want to tell anybody, like your fans, your cousins, your neighbors, whoever is going to watch this, and what do you got to say to everybody? How can they find you on social media? You know, give them the whole scoop.
Yeah, June 6th, Atlanta.
Which, by the way, I'm fucking shot. I'm like hyped for that.
Me too, man.
It's going to be dope.
Been training hard, working hard. First fight under the Rick Ramos boxing
Boom.
banner. New beginnings. Excited for it. My father and I have been training really hard. We've training all through the pandemic. Tough sparring. Just prepared mentally. I went through some things this pandemic that strengthened me. That strengthened my mental. Strengthened my physical. I'm a lot hungrier, and I'm excited to show my skills, and I feel I can hang in there with anybody.
Absolutely.
And I'm definitely gonna have some upsets on this second half of my career. It's a fresh start, and I'm ready, man. You know, I live a clean lifestyle. I'm dedicated to my craft, and what you see is what you get. I'm not fake in any way.
No.
I'm not afraid. I don't bite my tongue. I say what I feel. You know, I'm very respectful. But in the ring, I'm a beast.
Absolutely.
I'm an animal. I'm a warrior. And I'm going to carry that warrior mentality with me June 6th and get a knockout.
And where can they find you on Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah.
Where can everybody find you and add you and follow you?
So very just JMHBOXING. You can literally put that anywhere. Instagram, that's my Instagram, my Facebook, my Twitter, everything. It's just one at JMHBOXING.
Well, I'm excited for you. I think you're going to do good things. I think you're going to win this fight. I think we're going to get maybe another fight, and then we go look for Mark Castro. So tell that boy wherever he's hiding, we'll find his ass. And, you know, we're going to get him on a big show. And I think, you know, their second half of career is going to define you as a person and as a man. And we're going to do some big things.
Well, and I would just like to thank Chicago, like my family, my fans here that have supported me. 18 months is a long time to be away from the ring. But I know they're itching to see me get back. And, you know, I want to thank my father for staying patient. My family for helping me through everything, and most importantly, you for giving me this opportunity, dude. I'm ready to rock and roll, so let's make it happen. And shout out to the world champ for always being there. And I'm excited, dude. I got a little squad now.
Yeah, right. I mean, majority females, but you gotta start somewhere. It's all right.
Hey, dog.
We'll still fuck them up.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're gonna throw hands faster than a lot of dudes, but. All right, so make sure you subscribe to the Rick Ramos Boxing Show. Make sure you follow Josh on all social media networks. It's JMH.
Too many White Claws, bro.
JMH Boxing on all social media networks. You can also find Jessica.McCaskill and Jessica.McCaskill on all social media networks and Rick Ramos Boxing. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell your cousin, your neighbors, your aunts, your uncles, your ex-boyfriends and friends because they want to know what's up. So thanks for coming on the show.
More belts. More belts.
Louis Vuitton belts, WBC belts, with all the belts we got.
That's the goal, man. More belts. More rings.